Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the AFT Show. We have a special episode today. I'm Scottie, the voice of American Flat Track and co-host of the podcast Off the Groove. It's been a little while since we talked. Actually, it's been about a week since we talked to some riders. This week, an extra special guest. It's the CEO of American Flat Track, Michael Locke, will join us today. Let's bring him in right now. Good
Hey,
evening.
Scottie, good morning.
How are you? Good
Yeah,
evening.
good. How are you?
Wherever, I don't know what day it is. I don't know what time it is. I'm just glad to see it. It seems like last year since I saw your face. Actually, it was when we had to postpone the Daytona TT was the last time I saw you. So it's good to see you.
It's a day that none of us will ever forget, is it? We were within 22 hours of starting our season, and poof, it disappeared.
Just out of control, you know. So, have you been doing all right? What have you been doing during quarantine? You've been locked in your house?
I learned to bake.
Really?
No.
I was like, I was so excited to hear what you baked. So
No, fixing stuff up around the house and building a home office where I could have some quiet and privacy to speak with the team. We learned to use Zoom. We learned to use GoToMeeting. I've acquired a whole load of skills I never thought I would need.
yeah, me too. I don't know. I've got an office in my house now and recording and doing a bunch of different things, trying to stay busy, like you said. Well, let's go back a little bit since we didn't get to kick off the season officially. You usually do that with a meeting the night before the first national, the Daytona TT. So I guess take us back to late 2019 and the vision and what the vision was for 2020 and what it still is for 2020.
Well, look, thanks for the opportunity to do that, because it kind of seems that that's come and gone, but actually it hasn't. We are now a few weeks ahead of the season. It's like being back in February. And I'm trying to get the whole team to get their mind into, no, this is not relaunching the season. This is launching the season. And 2020, as you know, because many a late night bar discussion about the future of flat track, we've all chewed it over. And we're going to come big with the 2020 season. We got 3 full championship classes, including the launch of Super Twins, which has been very eagerly anticipated, has created discussion and controversy and passions and tempers, which is what sport should all be about. So, yeah, I'm trying to get the team refocused to launch the season with all the enthusiasm and excitement that they had in February and March. And the location will be different. We're going to be at Volusia for the half mile instead of in Daytona International Speedway for the TT. So the occasion is different, but the anticipation for kicking off this historic season is enormous.
Yeah, I cannot wait to get started. And what surprised me when the schedule came out is we're starting in July, but there's still going to be 18 rounds. Even though we're not starting in March, we're starting in July. There's still going to be 18 rounds, and that's exciting to me.
There has been a lot of fast footwork around putting that schedule together. Primarily we have a responsibility. And when I say we, I mean everybody at AMA Pro Racing. We have a responsibility to the athletes, to the team owners, to their sponsors, to the series partners, to the broadcaster, to everybody. We said we were going to race 18 races this year, and that's our job. And credit to Joey Mancari and Gene Crouch and everybody else in the team for putting together a schedule that, as you say, doesn't start until July, doesn't end until October, but we're going to deliver an 18-round season unless something catastrophic gets in our way to prevent us to do it, because that's our job.
What's AFT going to do in 2020, and how does that affect the stakeholders or fans, like the cool stuff, like you mentioned just a moment ago, the Super Twins team, the all-new Harley-Davidson versus Indian, production twins and singles. So what's new?
Oh man, everything's new.
Right.
which is why it was going to be so cool this year. We had a vision for the structure. Our job at the series is to create the landscape, but we don't paint all the colors in there. the colors are provided by the competitors. And we had hoped on finishing 2019 and announcing all of these structural changes that the community would throw themselves at it and create excitement. They've done that. I mean, if you look at the stories in the Super Twins class, we're going to have 18 races at every race. 15 of them are series long, part of the series, and opportunity for wild cards. Those wild card positions are going to be talking points. The big teams, as you say, the Indian Wrecking Crew, the Harley-Davidson Vance and Hines team. There's been some musical chairs, different guys coming in and moving out. Both the Bauman brothers, as I saw from last weekend, clearly have been doing their training in the off season and are going to be contenders for the championship. Jared Mees, if he ever gets his hair cut and is able to see through, he might be up front as well. But there are so many stories in there, and that's our job, is to provide safe, good quality, professional racing, but ultimately entertainment. We have to entertain each other, and we have to entertain this vastly growing army of fans that we've created over the last few years. So I'm very excited about Super Twins, but I'm also excited about the other two classes because there's a whole load of storytelling going on in there as well. Corey Texter is going to be defending his championship title. Mm-hmm. And we know Corey. I think he's actually super glued his hands to the trophy so that no one can get it off him. And we're looking forward to seeing what happens in there. There are going to be some new bikes, some new teams, some returning teams to flat track who were involved in the past and went and did road racing, now are coming back, which is enormously satisfying for us. And this is even before we start talking about AFT singles. You know, and I know, you go to any AFT race and you can be guaranteed that the singles are going to give you a huge bang for the buck. And again, some musical chairs in the winter are going to make this very exciting. You know, Shayna Tex is on her second season with the KTM team, settled down, got a longer view, more experience. Henry Wiles is like the cat in amongst the pigeons. We all know what Henry can do. Fearsome competitor. He's going to be in the singles class, and he might be nervously looking over his shoulder at all these crazy kids coming for him. So I think that what we've got to do is we've got to get going, and the driving, the driving enthusiasm behind the last couple of months has been, as soon as we can race, we race. We're mindful of public health authorities and state and local politicians and our colleagues across the street here in Daytona, NASCAR, who have huge resources and have developed protocols and all the rules we need to follow. We're going to do that. But our job is to go racing. That's what we want to do.
Absolutely. And I'm so excited, especially, for the AFT singles presented by Russ Brown Motorcycle Attorneys. That class is stacked. Like you mentioned, anybody that lines up can win that one. The AFT Super Twins presented by Vance and Hines class. We'll see if Breyer can defend his championship. That's going to be super exciting. And that's going to put a target on his back that he's never had before. So we'll see how he handles the pressure. What has AFT been doing behind the scenes since mid-March?
Well, what we did first was we made sure that we were in touch with all relevant authorities. And many of these things we've never done before. We never had to deal with public health authorities. So this was a new set of relationships and understanding guidelines and rules. And frankly, that's been a movable target. As you know, anyone who watches the news knows that the tone in the public environment 4 weeks ago and now are different. And we're having to anticipate another 4, 8, 10, 12 weeks down the line. And it's a little bit of crystal ball gazing because we're not in charge. But we want to make sure that we are fully in touch and fully informed and trained and capable of doing whatever we need to do to get these races run. And so working out a whole set of guidelines and protocols for the paddock on load in, on where we set up their pits, what we do on social distancing. All of that was one project. Then there was another project that's equally enormous, which is, what do we do when we're allowed to have fans back? Are we restricted to 25% capacity, 50%, 75%? Do we have to space seats in grandstands and block them off? Where do we have to put hand sanitizer? How do we secure a supply of masks so that we can offer everybody a face mask? And so on and so on and so on. These are all new things for AFT. So we've had to learn a whole new business, a whole new industry in 60 days. And so being stuck at home in front of your computer is a good way of getting educated on all that.
Did we learn from other organizations, others, other forms of sporting, events like that? Is that how we've kind of helped made this happen? I mean, take us a little bit deeper, I guess, into how the protocols involved in racing. How did that come about? I mean, you mentioned it a little bit, but did we have, help from NASCAR? Did we have, or did we just watch and see?
No, I'm not too proud to take anybody else's ideas if they're well thought through and resourced. And we're fortunate to have America's largest motorsport organization a stone's throw from the back of my office. And while they've had their own issues to deal with and how to get their racing back, they have been incredibly generous with their time and their resources for us. They think of us as like the kid brother, annoying at times, but family. And so we've lent on them, and they've been very gracious with not only their operations people and their supply chain people, but also legal advice. We don't want to do anything wrong. There are so many people fighting in the country at the moment with polarized views about everything. We don't want to be a protagonist on that. We're racers. We want to race. And we want to do it respectfully within society. So educating ourselves with the help of NASCAR, with the help of many other organizations. Some of our team have been involved in a liaison within the motorcycle racing business, both with MX Sports and with Feld, who runs Supercross and motocross, outdoor motocross, of pooling resources and experience so that we can, I don't want to say come in under the radar, because you're never under the radar when you're on television, but we don't want to be an irritant. We don't want to be a weapon used by somebody saying, look at what those guys are doing. So we want to do it right. But ultimately, we want to do it.
Absolutely. Let's shift gears a little bit. How did the revised race schedule come about?
Necessity. No, I'm joking aside. Both I and other members of our management team have been in constant contact with team owners, with senior racers, with sponsors, with manufacturers, and have said to them, look, we're going to go racing. What do you want out of it? What do you want? And what came across loud and clear from almost everybody was, we would like to do as much of the season as possible. I don't think many people imagined that we would be able to schedule 18 rounds. In fact, I think in dark moments, we didn't think we could ourselves. But the double header concept enabled us to do 18 rounds, but in 9 weekends. That was a game changer. Most of the venues that we have dealt with have been incredibly accommodating to different dates and different protocols on how to get it going. I mean, really, everybody's been awesome. You can turn on the news and you can think that society is at war with each other, but not in flat track. Everybody's pulled together. We've had great advice and support from people who sometimes are grumpy in this sport, but no one's been grumpy for the last 2 months. Maybe we should not race more often. But we wanted to do 18. We figured the only way we could do it was to do double headers. Then we looked at geographic locations, and there were places we really wanted to go, but we didn't have the confidence that we would ever be able to execute that event. It really pains us not to be able to go to Sturgis in August. And Sturgis may well go ahead because the world is changing very quickly. But when we had to make a decision about publishing a schedule, and we looked at a week-long outdoor rally in a 100-mile radius with 500,000 people, we thought there were too many variables outside of our control, and that it's quite an investment for all of the paddock and all the teams and AFT to go somewhere for a week like that. And we felt it was too much of a risk. And if we put it in the schedule, we'd have to take something else out. And then what do you take out? So both Sturgis and our 2 rounds in California, which we really miss going to. We got fantastic fans out west, but it's a long round trip to get out to California and watching the situation there and the politics. We felt that we would redouble our efforts and go back in 2021 better than ever. So we settled on 9 venues that we had a high degree of confidence that we would be able to go to. When we published the schedule, you may have seen that we had some TBAs in there. The TBAs do not mean that we don't know where we're going. The TBAs mean that we're holding off making an official announcement about those specific events because of local sensitivities or a situation changing very quickly. But we are planning towards those events, and as soon as we can go public with more details, you can be sure that we will.
Perfect. That's one of the questions I was going to ask you in a little bit, because people want to know what, new venues or where we're going. So as soon as we get more information on that, that will be posted publicly. What do the fans do that have already bought tickets to these events that have been postponed or canceled that we may not be going to? What should the fans do with to get their money back, or what is their plan, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I understand that fans have had frustration on a number of levels. We're all a fan of something, and if you'd bought a ticket in good faith prior to the start of the season, and we've got your money, and there's no information about the event being held, then naturally people want their money back. Of course they do. I would. What we launched when we postponed the season was we said to all fans that we would give them a credit towards future events, because we didn't have a schedule. We didn't know what we were canceling. We didn't know what we were postponing. And we would have ended up having to reissue rules all the time. And that becomes a madness. So until we had confirmed that we'd cancelled events, we offered a credit. Now that there is a schedule published, and it's obvious that there are events that are cancelled, those events, anyone who purchased tickets in advance can get a refund, either from AFT Events, which is our in-house promotions company. If any of the in-house events have been cancelled, you can get a refund by going through the website. For the independent events that have been cancelled, then you would have to go to the individual promoter. So Sacramento's a good example. It's an AFT series event, but it's run by an independent promoter. So they take the money for the tickets and they handle the administration on that and the credits. For events that have been postponed to a different date, we're offering a credit towards those events. And I believe that it's 18 months that we've given the window for credit. So anyone who can't go to an event this year because of a rescheduled date, or is worried about going to an event this year, that credit will last for all through next season as well.
So for the fans that aren't, comfortable to going to the races just yet, how can they watch this race? Especially with the new schedule, there's a couple different ways to watch the races this year.
Yes, there are, and this has been a big announcement that we had for 2020, and a lot of excitement from our side is that we, in conjunction with NBC Sports, have launched a new product, an online app, a streaming app called Track Pass. Track Pass enables you to access and watch, whether on your phone or your iPad, or you can cast to your TV, your laptop. You can watch all the racing action live, from practice and qualifying and heat races all the way through to the main events. Track Pass will carry all AFT rounds, all 18 AFT rounds live. There's a subscription for Track Pass, and I know no one likes paying for anything. Okay, but you know what? When you go to a bar, they don't give you a free beer. They charge you $5 for it because it costs something to make. Well, so we have introduced Track Pass. It will have very good production values, high quality, more content than people who used to watch Fans Choice might remember. It will be a more immersive experience. It's a subscription. I think the subscription works out at about $1 a month. So I think it's the cheapest pro sports subscription available anywhere in the world. So very good value. So I would recommend anybody who wants to catch all the action all season to find Track Pass, install that and use that. If you don't have access to that or don't want to watch all the racing, we will still have the NBC Sports AFT Show, which is a 1 hour highlights and recap of a whole round, 18 shows, just the same as last year. That will be available on NBCSN. And for people who either don't want to access the cable TV or the online platform, we will be showing action from race weekends via AFT's website. It will not include main events. They are exclusively live on Track Pass. But you can watch the practice and the qualifying throughout the day free of charge on AFT's website. So lots of options. Yeah,
I was going to say that's exciting. That's $1 per race. I mean, you can't beat that to get to the extreme close-ups. You can to see the racing, all the action that leads up to those exciting main events. You can see it for less than $1 a race.
It's a bargain. I think. I hope. Anybody who doesn't think that watching the greatest flat track racing anywhere in the world for $1 is a bargain probably needs to go and watch golf. Or something like that. And ultimately, this is part of the evolution that we've been working very hard at for the last few years, is that you and I and people who are watching this podcast, they know what flat track is. They know it's cool. They know it's the greatest American motorcycle sport, maybe the greatest motorcycle sport. They know that. But we need more people to know that. If this sport is to grow for the long term, if the teams are going to get a return on all the time and money they put into it, if the top racers earn and have a lifestyle like professional athletes, we know we're making progress. In order to do that, we need more of America to tune in and follow this sport. And so Track Pass is an easy way of doing that. But more than that, it means that logo that's behind your head and behind my head is on NBC Sports platform, alongside Premier League Soccer, alongside NASCAR, alongside all these huge sports. AFT gets equal billing. You know and I know that the curiosity of sports fans is, hey, let's check out that motorcycle racing.
Right.
Once they do that, they'll never leave. So this is part of the big plan to restore flat track back to the respect and love it had in the golden era. And you asked me what I've been doing while on lockdown. Man, I have burned out YouTube with checking out glorious chapters from the sports history. I've had Corey Texter. He texts me all the time. Hey, you need to check out this guy from the 70s. You need to check out that race from DeQuoin. So I've got lots of friends in the race community who said, you can bone up on all this stuff now that you've got some time and understand even better the rich heritage. And we want to take what that was and we want to make it better than ever. And so having all these broadcast options means it's much easier for new fans to come to the sport and say, oh, that is super cool. Who's that guy? Wow. Look at those skills. Look at that. That's what we're here for, is to grow this sport and take it to the biggest possible audience so that everybody in that race paddock can benefit.
Absolutely. I think it's the greatest form of motorsports in the world. I've been around it my whole life, and I just love bringing it to the fans. I just want to say thank you for your time. Thanks for answering our questions. Hopefully, the fans have learned from our questions. Would you be interested in maybe coming back as before the season gets started, and we can do this again with a little bit more information?
Yeah, sure. I mean, look, the situation's evolving on a daily basis out there in America, and we are ready to pounce and take advantage of that. So I'm happy to have another chat, Scotty, closer to the time, and I might be able to give you some more nuggets of information about what's going on and let our fans behind the curtain a little bit.
Awesome. Thanks for your time. That's Michael Locke, ladies and gentlemen, the CEO of American Flat Track. I'm Scottie Dubler. We'll talk to you guys next week on the AFT Show.